Have you ever won an argument and somehow still walked away feeling like you lost? You proved your point, you had the facts, maybe you were 100% right, but in the process, you hurt somebody, you damaged trust, you created distance, and eventually you realized something. Being right can come with a very expensive price tag. Hey, I'm Wes, and this is Wednesday Wisdom with Motivational Moments. And today I want to talk to you about something I've had to learn in my own life. Just because you're right doesn't mean you handled it right. And there's a difference. And learning that difference is wisdom. In Scripture, Proverbs 15:1 says, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." Notice it didn't say a correct answer turns away wrath. It says a gentle answer. Because you can speak truth and still speak it in a way that nobody can hear. I think one of the hardest things to learn as we mature is this: not every argument needs a winner. Sometimes it needs understanding. Think about how many relationships have been damaged because two people were more concerned with proving their point than understanding the other person. One person says something, the other gets defensive, then the first person gets louder, so the other person gets louder. Now nobody's listening. They're just reloading. You're not listening to understand anymore at that point. You're listening for the next sentence that you can use as ammunition. And eventually, that conversation isn't even about the original problem. Now it's about winning. But here's the wisdom. Before you respond, try and ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish here? What am I trying to bring understanding to? Am I attempting to repair something? Am I attempting to help this person? Or is it I'm trying to prove that I'm right? Because those are very different goals. And here's something I've learned. You can win an argument and lose the relationship. You can prove your point and lose someone's trust. You can have all the right facts and completely miss the heart standing right in front of you. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is pause. Not because you're weak, not because you don't have an answer, and certainly not because the other person is right, but because you've learned something powerful. You don't have to attend every argument that you're invited to. James 1:19 tells us, everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger. That's almost the exact opposite of how most arguments work. We're slow to listen, quick to speak, and even quicker to get angry. Wisdom flips the order. But let's go a little deeper, because there's another side to this. Sometimes our need to be right isn't really about truth. It's about pride. Because admitting someone else has a point can feel like losing. Saying, I hadn't thought about it in that way. That can feel uncomfortable. And these two words can sometimes feel almost impossible. I was wrong. But maturity isn't proving you're always right. Maturity is becoming secure enough to admit when you're not. And sometimes maturity means saying, I still believe differently than you, but I understand you better now. That can be very, very powerful, because disagreement doesn't have to become disrespect. In fact, Jesus showed us this. Jesus was never confused about truth. He never compromised truth to make people comfortable. But he also didn't spend his life chasing down every person who disagreed with him. Sometimes he answered. Sometimes he asked a question. Sometimes he corrected. And sometimes he remained silent. Think about that. the one person who was always right, didn't always feel the need to prove it. There's wisdom in that. So a challenge for today. The next time you feel an argument starting to stir up, before you fire back, before you send that text, before you write that comment, before you say the sentence you know will win, pause and ask yourself, what will it cost me to be right? Maybe you still need to speak. Maybe truth needs to be said. Maybe a boundary needs to be established. But make sure your goal isn't simply to win, because wisdom knows how you say something can matter as much as what you say. Here's today's Wednesday wisdom. You don't become wise when you learn how to win every argument. You become wise when you learn which arguments are worth having, which words are worth saying, and which ones are better left unsaid. Sometimes the strongest sentence you'll ever say is, I was wrong. Sometimes it's, I understand. And sometimes it's nothing at all. I'm Wes, and this has been Wednesday Wisdom with Motivational Moments. Let me leave you with this. What's one thing that you've learned that helps keep a disagreement from turning into an argument? If you will, share it below. Somebody reading the comments might need the wisdom that you've learned the hard way.